Morning, Luigi, Matar, Peter.
Good morning, Mr.
Daniel, morning, Rashwan, morning all.
أنا مطر يا
الو
أستاذ شو
Nada,
السلام عليكم.
مطر
السلام عليكم.
Matar, Abdurrahman, alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
ايوه
Morning, Hamid, Basant, Kiki, Mirna, Shah Tamim. Okay. There are 13 of us now. So yesterday we finished the second poem of the Anglo-Saxon poems, The Wanderer, and we started the third one, the third and last and shortest one, The Wife's Lament. As we said yesterday, the speaker here or the poet, we said, is a woman. Although some critics, some thinkers say that it might not be a woman, okay, but here she says, I, a woman. This is a very strong proof that the speaker here is a woman, and she talks about her man, her lord. This is why we are sure that the speaker is a woman. Again, the title, The Wife's Lament. She's lamenting her husband. She is sent away by her husband from her home because of a specific reason, because of some plans made by her husband's kinsman, right? As we said yesterday. Welcome, Mirna, Farah. Hi. Let's read the lines again. They are just 50 lines and explain or paraphrase them. I make this song about me full sadly, so it's a personal experience, and she is so sad while telling us her story. My own wayfaring, a woman, a woman tell, what griefs I had since I grew up. Since the time she was a child, she has been suffering, according to her, new or old, never more than now. Whatever from the moment I was born, I had been suffering. But the suffering I have now is the most, let's say, is the fiercest one. Okay, it is the fiercest one, or the most fierce suffering I've ever had. Although I have been suffering for all my life, but I've never seen a suffering like this. Again, new or old, never more than now. So I suffer the most now. Ever I know the dark of my exile. The dark of my exile, the darkness of my exile is the, let's say, the saddest moment of my life. First, my Lord went out away from his people. My Lord, as we said yesterday, mostly she means her husband. He went out, he went away from his people, from his village, from his town, over the wave to Mount. You know, tumult means change, stability, noise. Wave tumult maybe is akin for the sea, because the sea is the place where the waves are noisy and rough and so on. So this is akin. Let me remind you again of the meaning of akin. Akin is the metaphoric use of two words to express one word, like the wave tumult instead of saying the sea. Okay, I grieve each dawn, each morning, each early morning. I grieve, I was sad, I cried, wondered where my Lord, my first on earth, might be. He was away for a long time. It's like this. I wondered why he, my first on earth, my dearest on earth, might be. Then I went forth a friendless exile. Then I was sent to a friendless exile, an exile where there are no friends, to seek service. Service may be, critics say that she may mean help here, to seek help, or some people said maybe she means to find a job as a servant somewhere. Some critics say this, but I think the first meaning is more reasonable, to seek help. In my sorrows need, my man's kinsman began a plot. My man's kinsman, the relatives of my husband, my in-laws, maybe my sisters, my brothers, my aunt, okay, began to plot against our happiness by darkening thought, by evil ideas, to divide us two, to keep us apart, my husband and I. So we most widely in the world's kingdom, in this world, this is another kenning, the world's kingdom in this life, maybe referred to life, in the world's kingdom in life, lived wretchedly, lived desperately, lived unhappily, and I suffered longing for my husband. My Lord commanded me to move my dwelling here. My Lord, again her husband, commanded me. And this reflects, again, the culture, the male domain culture or man domain culture in the Anglo-Saxon era, okay? Again, a husband is a protector, and a protector is the one you are loyal to. She said, my Lord, my husband commanded me, and she used the word command, okay, like a commander, commanded me to move my dwelling here, to move the place where I live here. I had few loved ones in this land. I don't know many people here or faithful friends. I have few without a, which means a very, very small number, which is not enough. For this my heart grieves, that I should find the man well matched to me. When I remember that, I find my husband, my dear husband, hard of fortune. He is poor, he doesn't have enough money. Mournful of mind, is sad most of the time. Hiding his mood, thinking of murder. He thinks maybe of committing suicide because of this bad mood and this lack of money maybe, and so on. Blithe was our bearing. Blithe here means cheerful or happy. Our bearing, our life was happy. Often we vowed, when we were together, we vowed that but death alone would part us two. Whenever we were together, we vowed that we won't part unless death parts us. Okay? And we will not be apart unless death takes one of us. Death only will keep us apart. But again, life was our bearing. We were leading a happy life. Often we vowed, we made vows that but death only, but death alone, death only would part us to naught else, nothing else, nothing else. Okay? Death only would part us. But this is turned round now. This is turned round now. We are parted and we are still alive. Both of us are still alive. As if it never were our friendship. As if we were not together at all. I must far and near bear the anger of my beloved. I must bear the anger of my husband. I must tolerate his anger with me. Why? Because he is her Lord. The man sent me out to live in the woods as a type of punishment because of the plan his kinsman made against her. under an oak tree. She lives in the woods, among the trees, under an oak tree. In this den, you know, den is the house or the home of a lion or some wild animals in the earth. Maybe in this den in the earth, maybe she wants to tell us that she lives in a cave somewhere under an oak tree, or a hole in the mountain. Ancient, this earth hole. Some people here say that this woman is dead, and maybe her ghost is telling us her story. Maybe she wants to say, because the hole in the ground means the grave, another kenning, but it's not here. Earth hole here is a kenning, which means grave. Maybe she means a cave, but mostly it's a grave. Some people say this is not the woman herself, but maybe this is her ghost, her zombie telling us the story. Okay, so in this den, in this cave, maybe in the earth, in this grave, maybe ancient, this earth hole, I am all longing for my husband. I'm longing to see him. I'm longing to see him. The valleys are dark. In the place where I live now, in my exile, the valleys are dark, the hills high, they are overgrown, bitter with briars. Imagine you are living alone in this environment. You are a woman, and you know a woman is weak, and living alone in this harsh place, in a den, something like a cave, under the oak trees. The valleys are dark. She lives in the darkness, especially at night. Imagine that you're alone at night, living in such a place. I would die of fear. The hills high hills around you, which stop you from seeing the horizon, and this is something fearful when you can't see the horizon. Okay, there is something unknown behind these hills. The yard overgrown, many trees around, it's full of trees. Again, you can't see well. Bitter with briars. Briar is a type of small tree or shrub. Bitter with briars. It's full of small trees. A joyless dwelling. A joyless dwelling. This home is joyless. That has no joy. It's boring to live here on my own. Okay, full of the lack of my Lord, full of the lack of my Lord, because of the because I miss my Lord, because I miss my husband. In addition to this or these bad circumstances in which I live, seizes me cruelly here. Again, if I suffer from two things: the bad atmosphere in which I live, the bad environment, the harsh circumstances in which I live, and the loss or the lack of my husband. My husband is not beside me in such circumstances. Friends there are on earth, living, beloved, lying in bed. My friends are back on earth, although she is still on earth, but this doesn't mean she is in the sea. But they are at home, she means, living, beloved, living together, lying in their beds. I lie on the ground. They lie on soft, smooth beds. I lie on the ground. While I am at dawn, the time they are happy in the early morning, lying in their beds. I'm at dawn, I'm walking alone. I get up early and walk alone. The time my friends back on earth live with their husbands, and at this early time, they are enjoying deep sleep. Okay, see how much she suffers. Under the oak tree, again, she mentioned the oak tree again. through these earth holes. Looks like the place is full of caves or graves. If it's a grave or a cave, we are not sure. There I may sit in the early morning. The summer long day, you know that the summer day is very long. From maybe 4 in the early morning, 3:30 in the early morning until 7 in the evening. This is, for example, 17 hours or 16 hours. She sits in this place, the summer long day. There I can weep over my exile. She spends this long day, she spends these long days weeping, crying over her exile. My many hardships, and over her many hardships, many sufferings. Okay? Hence I may not rest from this care of heart, because I may not, this suffering will not come to an end, which belongs to me ever. As she mentioned at the very beginning, she has been suffering since the moment she was born, from her early life, which belongs to me ever. Sadness, hardships belong to me ever, all the time, nor all this longing that has caught me in this life. So she suffers again. She has a double suffering. She suffers from the hardships she has all the time. And now, in addition to this suffering, which belonged to her, she suffers from the loss or the lack of her husband. From this care of heart, which belongs to me ever, nor all this longing that has caught me in this life. Karim is raising his hand. Yes, Karim.
مستر ينفع حضرتك تعيد الحتة اللي فاتت دي؟
Can you speak in English, Karim?
حاضر مستر.
Can you say it in English, please?
حاضر. قولها دلوقتي يعني. Can you read the last part, please?
Which part from lines? Can you specify the lines you want to? You want me to explain again?
Yes, from 35 to 40, please.
Okay. Okay, Karim. Let's go back to 35. She says, I'll start from here, Karim. Full of the lack of my Lord, I miss my husband. Seizes me cruelly here. I miss my husband, and this is an additional suffering to my suffering. Friends there are on earth. My friends are back in their homes, living, beloved, lying in bed, sleeping in their beds in the early morning, while I at dawn, in the early morning, I'm walking alone in this place, this harsh place. I'm walking alone in the early morning because I don't have any husband, any friend, okay, to talk to. Under the oak tree in this place, through these earth holes, we said before, earth holes may mean caves, and there are many caves, and she lives in one of these caves, or moves from one cave to another. Or as I mentioned, Karim, some people say that this woman is dead, and this is her ghost telling us her story. So maybe an earth hole here means her grave, okay? And you know, there are many graves around her own grave. There, I may sit the time my friends are back enjoying their lives with their husbands and in their homes. There, I may sit the summer long day. I may spend the summer long day doing what, Karim? Weeping, crying over my exile and many hardships. My many hardships, many sufferings. Hence, I may not rest from this care of heart, because I always am sad. I have hardships, I have suffering from my early life, which belongs to me ever. All the time I suffer. All the time I face hardships. Nor all this longing that has caught me in this life. You can add to my suffering my longing for my husband, my lost husband, or not lost, the lack of my husband, because I miss him very much. Okay? Here, looks like the woman is thinks that she wishes that her husband would live in the same circumstances. She is very angry with him. She says here, may that young man, her husband, be sad-minded always. إلهي يحزن حاضر. إلهي ما يشوف يوم حلو. May that young man be sad-minded always, because he listened to his kinsman and sent her away to this exile. Again, may that young man be sad-minded always. May my husband be sad all the time. Hard his heart's thought, while he must wear a blithe bearing with care in the breast, a crowd of sorrows. May on him depend all his world's joy. Be he outlawed far in a strange folk land. She wishes that all this happened to him. All the sorrow of the world would gather in his heart, and she wishes that he outlawed far in a strange folk land. She wishes that he would be outlawed, sent away in a strange folk land, a land where he knows nobody. That my beloved sits under a rocky cliff, rimed with frost. I want him to sit under a rocky cliff, covered with snow like me now. A Lord dreary in spirit is a harsh Lord, drenched with water in this place. I hope that the place in which he would live or may live be drenched with water, in a ruined hole, in a bad place, in a filthy place like myself. My Lord endures much care of mine. He remembers too often a happier dwelling, and I want him in this situation while suffering my old suffering. Remember, as I remember our past days, our happy life, like as I do now. I want him to suffer the same stuff. I want him to suffer my own suffering, to have the same suffering, to live in such circumstances, to have the same reflections, to have the same memories, everything like me. I want him to suffer as I suffer. My Lord endures, suffers, much care of mine, much thinking, because she never stopped thinking. He remembers too often. I wish that he would remember very often, too often, a happier dwelling, his home back on earth, as she said. Woe be to them that for a loved one must wait in longing. She gives us something like a wisdom, a line of wisdom. Woe be to them. They lead a sad life, an unhappy life, a miserable life. Those who love someone and keep waiting for them, longing for them. So maybe she advises us not to fall deeply in love with someone and then long for them if we miss them or we are apart from them. Okay? If you want me to, I think this is the end of it. As I told you, it's just 50 lines. We talked about, as you can see, there are kennings and caesuras. If you look at every single line, you'll find a caesura. Let me remind you of the spelling of the word caesura, because you will be asked about this. C-A-E-S-U-R-A. A caesura, again, if you look at the first line, I make this song about me full sadly. A caesura is this pause between the two parts of the line. Why? To strengthen the beat or the rhythm of the line. This is on one hand, and to give the reader a chance to take his breath. Okay, I make this song about me full sadly, my own wayfaring. I a woman tell what griefs I had since I grew up, and so on. Tick, 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 tick. Okay, this is the caesura. But these spaces here, the caesura is represented by a space in the middle of the line, a big space in the middle of the line. This is called acisora. We talked about a couple of kennings, and again, a kenning, the spelling is K-E-N-N-I-N-G. K-E-N-N-I-N-G. These are some of the features of the Anglo-Saxon poems. A kenning is the use of two or more words to refer to one word. Instead of saying the sea on line 7 here, she says wave tumult. Wave tumult means the noise of the wave or the place where the waves are noisy. And this is the sea. Simply, instead of saying the sea, she uses, or the speaker uses, this is a kenning, a kenning, a kenning. Like in the Seafarer, she said, or the speaker said, the home of the whales, or the whale home. The home of the whales is simply the ocean or the sea. Instead of saying the sea or the ocean, this is another kenning. Type. If you want me to explain a specific line or any of these lines, please put your hands up. Take a minute. Hello. Okay. Let's move down. Here we have a question. What does the wife mourn in this elegy? What does the wife mourn in this elegy? I think the answer is very easy. If you know the answer to this question, what does the wife mourn? What is she sad about in this elegy? Let me remind you of the meaning of elegy. An elegy is a sad poem, a poem in which the speaker or the poet laments something, the loss of something or someone dear. Myrna only as usual. What does the wife mourn in this elegy? Guys, are you in bed now? Guys, the question is very easy. If you are following up, you should put your hand up, please. What does the woman lament? What does the woman lament? Hania and Myrna. Who else? Rashwan. Okay, Rashwan.
Yes, Mr. What does the woman lament?
What does she lament?
Yes.
The woman
What's the meaning of lament?
Means sad about. What is she sad
Eh?
about?
What?
What is she sad about? What does she grieve?
What is she sad about?
Yes, ma huwa lament.
That she's left alone because her husband left.
Okay, so the woman mourns is the same as laments. The loss of her beloved husband, right? Her home and her previous life. If Myrna and Hania would want to add anything, keep your hands up. If you have the same answer, put your hands down, please. Okay. Thank you, Rashwan. Put your hand down. If you go down to the questions here, I'll minimize a little bit. Yes, here. Do you think there is anything the speaker can do to remedy her situation? Why or why not? I need the ladies, Basant, Yaota, Mariam. Why don't you put your hands up? I'm not sure why. Basant, Yaota, Mariam, and other ladies. Okay? Why is it Myrna and Hania all the time? The question is, do you think there is anything the speaker can do to remedy her situation? Still have Myrna and Hania. Okay, Hania.
I don't think she could do anything to solve what she's in right now. because her husband turned out to be like a bad person and she's left all alone, but she could try to get over it and grow as a person alone, or try to find someone else, or try to socialize with other people and have her own life instead of dwelling on him leaving her.
Okay, thank you very much. Marina?
I don't think there's anything she can do. She may just stop thinking about it and try to, like Hania said, find maybe other people or something, but she has to stop like thinking about the situation because it won't help in any way.
Thank you, Mirna. Thank you very much. Maya?
I think that she should be happy that he left her, since she says that he's a bad person. So
Okay, but remember,
should be thankful that he left her alone.
She's still talking about him as her Lord, and she can't, I think, she's not free to look for another person. I think she's not free to find another person. He hasn't divorced her, Maya. He just sent her to this place, asked her to stay there, maybe for a couple of days, for a couple of weeks, for a couple of months. We're not sure. Forever, we're not sure. Okay, if you were her, you would look for some other people to live with, right?
No, I would just be happy that he left me because he sounds like a bad person.
Okay, thank you very much.
I would be happy that I got rid of him.
Thank you. Good opinion. Put your hands down, please, Mirna and Maya. I'll move to the second question. Why did the wife have to leave her home? It's a very easy question. I need a gentleman. I need a gentleman. I'll go to Mr. Hamid. Mr. Hamid. Hamid, why? The question is very easy. Why did the wife have to leave her home? Why did
to go after her husband.
Was she going after her husband?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Hamid. I have Danielle.
No problem, Mister.
Danielle.
Because her husband changed his views about her, and he commanded her to leave.
Okay, so she was ordered to leave, right?
Yes.
Home by her husband. She said, my Lord asked me to move to this place, right? But she was commanded, according to her, she was commanded by her husband to move and live in this place on her own, as a type of punishment for something wrong she did, according to his kinsman. Okay? Okay. Type. Interpret, what do lines 25 and 26 suggest about her reaction to this event? If you go to lines 25 and 26, what do they suggest about, interpret or explain or paraphrase the two lines? She says here, our friendship, I must far and near bear the anger of my beloved. I must. We're not sure why must she bear this anger of my beloved, and she uses the words beloved and Lord, and the woman is still in love with him. She is longing for him all the time. She's waiting for him to come maybe and take her out of this suffering. Okay, so who can interpret these two lines? Or what do these two lines suggest? Danielle, do you want to answer?
I think angry about the situation.
Excuse me?
I think it's angry about the situation.
About the situation she is in? Okay.
Yes.
I read somebody else. Minna wants to answer. Thank you, Danielle. Minna?
Same. She is justified of her anger because she has to leave her lovely home and go to live in a dark place.
Okay, this is your opinion. Thank you. The lines suggest that she feels alone. This is the answer I have in my teacher's book. The lines suggest that she feels alone and has lost the relationship she had with her Lord. Okay. Question 3. How might a listener or a reader feel about his or her griefs after hearing the wife's lament. Every one of us suffers in a way or another. How would you, as a listener to the suffering of this woman, compare it to your own suffering, and then how would you feel? Again, the question again. How might a listener feel about his or her griefs after hearing the wife's lament? Danielle and Myrna, put your hands down or keep them up if you want to answer. I have Minna and Hania now. I'll take Hania this time.
Okay, so a lot of readers might relate to her. And since a lot of us maybe love people in our lives, like even platonically, like family members, yet they turn out to be bad people, or like friends too, turn out to be bad people, but we still want them in our lives. So a lot of people can relate to her and sympathize with her. They might also feel better about their own circumstances after hearing how bad she has it.
I think any of us would feel that his or her suffering is slight compared to this woman's suffering. Okay, thank you, Hania. Rashwan?
Mister, I was going to say the same as Hania's answer. I forgot the raise hand
Okay.
up.
Thank you, Rashwan. So the answer I read the answer I have here about this part. A listener might feel that his or her griefs or sufferings are slight compared to the speakers, small compared to the woman's suffering, especially because the listener probably has more options than the wife. You live in your home, you live in your bed, you lie in your bed, sorry, you have your beloved people around you, you live in the middle of the town, okay? You have the shops around you, she lives in the mountains, maybe in a mountainous area, in the forest, surrounded by the wild animals, the fierce weather, loneliness, ideas and thinking, overthinking, and all this is suffering. Right. Question 3b. Explain why the poem presents the wife as an image of pure longing, rather than a person who will one day move on, like Maya's idea. She would throw him behind her back and look for another one, look for other people to live with and enjoy the rest of her life. Why? Explain why the poem presents the wife as an image of pure longing. She's just longing, okay? She has nothing to do, rather than a strong, independent woman as a person who will one day move on. Waiting for the ladies' answers. Basant, Basant, I want to hear your voice. Basant.
Yes, Mister. Presents her as an image of pure longing because she's still always there waiting for her beloved to come back to her. She doesn't want to search for anyone else. She just wants her husband, her Lord, to come back to her.
Okay, thank you. I'll go to Myrna.
So basically, maybe because of the culture and this Anglo-Saxon
Perfect. The idea,
era.
yes, perfect. The
Yes,
idea of
so
obedience. You must be obedient to your Lord.
yes, exactly. So once the Lord is lost, you have.
Yes, the strong, independent woman is not there anymore. Okay, they must obey their lords, their protectors, because a husband is home, a lord is home. This is your home. This is your land. This is the one who protects you. But she can't move on her own. Okay, thank you, Myrna. Peter.
Yes. The wife felt lonely, and she felt her house dark, and she couldn't get over him.
Okay,